surviving on loans and choosing to commit suicide at the age of 40. This is the extreme reality for some young people in South Korea. In this highly competitive country, some young people choose another path of living in the moment, spending everything they have on luxury goods they love, even maxing out 8 credit cards without hesitation. Ultimately, when the debt becomes unmanageable, they choose to end their lives. 36-year-old Ju Young-kwon was one of these indebted individuals in South Korea. He was an ordinary low-wage worker, earning only 620,000 KRW per month. Yet, he had 4 credit cards with a total overdraft limit of 40 million KRW, equivalent to 60 months of his salary. Facing this hard-earned enormous credit, Ju Young-kwon spent money without any restraint. Although he lived in a rundown rental apartment, his room was packed with various luxury goods. Designer bags piled on the table, cosmetics scattered on the bedside, every corner reflecting his obsession with consumption. Within less than a year, he maxed out all 4 credit cards, accumulating about 20 million KRW in debt. To repay it, he worked overtime desperately, even holding multiple jobs simultaneously to maintain a balance in life. The daily exhaustion gradually took a toll on his health, and he eventually could not handle the high-intensity labor and was fired. Losing his stable income, the already fragile balance collapsed instantly, and his debt snowballed to 64 million KRW. Ju Young-kwon tried every possible method to cope with his debt. He forged documents, pretending he still had a job to secure loans from banks to repay old debts. But the lies were soon exposed, and the banks blacklisted him. As his credit cards continued to be overdue, debt collection calls flooded in like a torrent, and he could only lock himself in his room, avoiding reality as if playing dead. When his family discovered the truth, he was overwhelmed with shame and attempted suicide for the first time. Upon opening his eyes, he found his debt had risen to 90 million KRW, and he tried again, only to be rescued in time. On the 3rd attempt, he tried once more, still unsuccessfully. Surviving such extreme hardship, Ju Young-kwon successfully filed for personal bankruptcy in 2018, and his debts were completely waived. But he was prohibited from applying for any loans for the next 5 years. Ju Young-kwon was not an exception. In 2018, 134,000 people in South Korea filed for bankruptcy, with the fastest growing group being people in their 20s, facing high housing prices, high unemployment, competitive workplaces, and workplace bullying. Young people's motivation to strive gradually diminishes. If you can't afford a house, it's better to enjoy life now. As a nation of entertainment, young South Koreans generally pursue fashion and glamorous appearances. To maintain this image, they buy luxury goods frantically, even if it means going into debt. In 2022, South Korea's luxury goods sales reached $16.8 billion, with per capita spending of about $325, ranking first in the world. The young couple in front of us is a perfect example. They regularly go shopping together and buy trendy new items. To gain admiration from their peers, they spend up to 20 million KRW annually on luxury goods. The woman's handbag is worth 3.8 million KRW, its dazzling logo attracting attention, making every outing a spectacle. The man is not to be outdone. He casually shows a small card holder priced at 510,000 KRW plain on the outside, but meticulously designed by a postmodern structuralist artist. Each time he pays, he feels proud and satisfied. To sustain this happiness, Ju Young-kwon goes shopping every few days, treating sneakers costing thousands of KRW as if they were everyday groceries. After every purchase, he posts the haul on social media, and seeing friends' envy and admiration boosts his sense of fulfillment. Even if he survives on instant noodles afterward, he feels fearless. The woman teases him as a show-off, constantly flaunting his purchases, but Ju Young-kwon remains calm, spending most of his money on expensive cosmetics, a single lipstick costing up to 250,000 KRW. To to maintain this luxurious lifestyle, he has to work 2 jobs simultaneously, and in his spare time, he acts as a product review blogger, working frantically on video platforms. With his own efforts, bank loans, and minimal parental support, their life barely stays afloat. However, once this balance is disrupted, they could follow the same desperate path as Ju Young-kwon, crushed by heavy debt, crying among a room full of luxury goods. This is the reality for many young South Koreans. Consumption habits are certainly a factor, but South Korea's economic environment is also crucial. Data shows that in 2019, South Korean household debt reached $1.75 trillion, with an average of about 300,000 KRW per person, while the GDP that year was $1.65 trillion. Household debt had already exceeded annual GDP, ranking first in Asia. Even more frightening, this number continues to grow, with a household declaring bankruptcy every 12 minutes on average. In fact, in the 1990s, South Korea had the highest household savings rate in the world. But the 1997 Asian financial crisis caused mass corporate bankruptcies and soaring unemployment. To stimulate the economy, the government encouraged consumption, giving tax benefits to credit card companies, and banks relaxed credit card application requirements. By 2002, the average South Korean adult had almost 4 credit cards, with total consumption reaching $700 billion, accounting for 40% of GDP. By contrast, even in the US, which embraces overconsumption, the figure was only 18%. Borrowing is easy, repaying is hard, and the ultimate consequence is that many young people become heavily indebted. Millions are unable to repay loans, and some even resort to suicide. Seoul's Mapo Bridge has become a preferred site for many suicides, with over 100 people jumping into the river there alone. The government once tried to comfort the depressed with warm slogans, which instead led to a 6-fold increase in suicides, high housing prices, high debt, and high unemployment. The harsh reality accelerates the end of life despite empty words. Besides uncontrolled consumption, gambling is another key reason young people go into debt. In 2019, the number of South Korean youth receiving addiction treatment for gambling increased 6-fold compared to 2015. Take Park Chang-ho, for example. In college, he tried gambling for the first time, turning 1 million KRW into 42 million KRW. Believing himself chosen, he threw himself entirely into gambling, eventually becoming a debtor instead of a gambling master. To recover his losses, he borrowed 15 million KRW, but quickly lost it all. His parents paid off 64 million KRW in debts, yet he secretly took more loans using their phone numbers, eventually being kicked out. After 2 months of wandering, his sister reluctantly took him in, but old habits persisted. He borrowed from high-interest lenders at 50% interest. He was not alone. It's conservatively estimated that over 400,000 South Koreans have borrowed from high-interest lenders. About 1 in every 100 people heavily in debt borrow and fail to repay, and some choose suicide. Under the pressure of insatiable desires, vibrant lives ultimately become cold corpses. Facing such a severe situation, the government should have tightened lending, but the pandemic struck the economy, putting citizens' consumption and debt in a dilemma. According to a 2025 study, about a quarter of Generation Z are willing to max out their credit cards during financial hardship, and 62% have no emergency savings, almost twice the rate of the baby boomer generation. This dependence on credit cards, combined with high living costs and student loan pressures, makes it easier for young people to fall into a debt trap.